This is the database that's going to be created in Django. It's fully compliant in terms of the names of the fields that we've given all of the data items in our classes. Let's now start to call them the names that we'll use inside the Django environment. We're using the snake case, we're using the correct data types. We've separated the tables out into these objects or entities that we've decided we want to implement. But something that's important to remember when you're doing this practically is that because of the way the Python language works, because of the way the interpretation of everything is happening, is that I know it's the wrong term, but let's think about parent and child. Primary key, foreign key. It is important that when you are going to use a foreign key, it already exists as a primary key. So you can see that here we should create the genre model and the publisher model before we create the game model, which is going to use these primary keys in the foreign key field here. And similarly, the game must exist before the sale can exist. However, in order to make a sale, you have to have the customer that you're going to have to exist before you can create the sale. So you kind of work from the outside in, and customer must exist before address can be created. It refers back to the primary key, the customer ID, and so forth. And it's a strategy you have to get used to doing. It can be fixed if you do it in the wrong order, but the sequencing of this inside the models file is actually important in this particular case. So the parent and child. If a child exists, the parent must be created before you can use the child. And that's it. The one must exist before the many can be created. And that's just a general outline rule that we're going to be able to follow. I've copied everything over onto a new page in Visio. And I'm saying that this is the precedence and the sequence that I'm going to use for creation of objects. First, genre. Second, publisher. Third, customer. Now, because I've got these two here, I can then create the game, because the game is a child of both these ones here. Then I can create the sale, because these are children of that one and that one. And then I can create the address, the child of customer. This is not changing the names of the field of the classes at all. That would be daft, wouldn't it? This is just to give me a visual clue and to help us remind ourselves what we need to do in the order that we need to do it. I've created a small Django project, which is called Games Project, and that's the name of the project there. You see all the familiar files in there. I've also got my games site, which is the app. Now, this is where we're going to create our models, obviously, and I've got the models.py file open. This has absolutely no functionality at all. It is a working app. If I can do this, Python server, I go to this URL address, it's got this working Django app. So we know that Django app is working at the moment. And in fact, in many cases, when you're professionally developing an application, you will do the back end of it or the front end of it in the sequence that you choose to do it. And often the back end is built first, where the data is all available for all of the users who need to design the interfaces. They need to see the data they're working with. So quite often the data is built at the back end first. And that's the approach that we're going to have imagined that we've created here. So we'll create our models in this file, and we'll start off in the order that we have stated before. A model is a class. So the first one we're going to create, of course, is the genre class. So I'm going to put the word class. Now, it already has the library imported by default. You don't have to do anything with that. So class. And we give it the same name as we gave it in our database model, genre. Okay, so that's what we've got there, and we've initiated our class genre. Now, it automatically, in my case, has given me stuff I don't really want. So I'm going to have to remove this for the moment, because my autofill is just too active at the moment. And we'll now put in how we want to call this. So we said genre underscore name equals models.carfield max length 100. I didn't put that max length into my model, so I can take that out. So it will have just the default max length, which is going to be 255. And that's our first model created. I can go on to the second model, which is going to be publisher. So I've created the base of the class. And you could, if you wanted, you could put in there max length or length equals 255. And that would be a valid name or a valid constraint for that. And then what we've got is the publisher country. And that's good enough for that. So we've now got that one. And I'm going to go through and create the next one, which is going to be which is going to be customer. So beginning class customer. And this is just going to be a straight copy over of all the things we had in customer from models, not models. I'm going to have a bit of autofill, and this is my autofilling, so I'm going to take it out. You can't obviously get access to this. This is my paid for automated field. So forename equals our field, and I said the maximum we're going to have on that was going to be 50. Surname, and then the maximum we're going to have on surname was 100. And then next one was date of birth. And it is a date field, exactly as it picked up for this. I'm going to put email field. My IntelliSense is filling this in beautifully and saving me a lot of typing. And mobile phone. Car field max length equals 20. So it's done that for us. Now we've got our parents all in place. We can now start to work on the models for the tables where the foreign keys are implemented. I'm now in a position to create the next one, which is the game. That's the next one, number 4, that we're going to create. And I've got it on my clipboard already done for you. Save you the autocorrect and everything else. Let's just walk through it. So 22, line 22, we've got class game, model, title equals, and in fact, I gave that the game name. I made a mistake here, so titles may be better, though, isn't it? Then price, PEGI rating, genre is going to be a foreign key. And here we have how you implement a foreign key inside the SQLite system using the Django modeling system and the ORM, object relational modeling system that is built in, and it saves a huge amount of work. So we're linking from this foreign key back to that primary key there. That's going to be an automatic link between the two items or the two tables in our database. A real enhancement to this sort of situation can be where you want to make sure that you can refer to these by a group. Related names equal games, and what that means is that you can go to a genre and do .games, and you'll get the games of that genre. You can use dot notation, maybe beyond what Kevin's been teaching you, but that's a really important enhancement that you could demonstrate in your skill set there. That allows us to link objects together very effectively. So the next one we're going to do is going to be the sale. So I've created the class off camera. So we've got class sale. Game is the foreign key on the game. Excuse me. And this customer is going to be the foreign key on the customer. And notice they've done the related names thing again. There's just a little showing off, really, enhancement. And I don't know whether it's been explained to you by Kevin about this, is that if we have a game that's deleted, any sales for that game will be deleted. Very dangerous in terms of integrity of data, but it's probably not effective in that. You still want to keep the data after your sale. The game's gone forever, but this is what we've got here. So this is the system I'm going to use. So sale date is a date field, and we can just work with that as a normal date field. And the final model we have to create is for the address. So I've moved things around on the page a little bit to make this easier to read. So class address, models.model, relating by a foreign key into the customer parent key or primary key. I've got address line 1, address line 2, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Town, county, postcode, and country, pretty standard stuff. For address line 2, you'll see that the very last entry there on line 37 is blank equals true. This can be blank. It doesn't have to have an entry when you're submitting something into the database. It can be blank. And probably in many cases, you'd want to leave that in as an option, but you may not know the data that's needed at runtime. But that's what we're doing in this particular model to make sure that you must have an address line 1, but you can leave the address line 2 blank.